had a look inside the box of the ARMA Hobby Hurricane. It looks pretty good, let's be honest. How does it go together? Find out when I make mine, right here, on Gary's Stuff. Hello there, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today, indeed, is the build day of the kit of the week. That kit being the ARMA Hobby Hawker Hurricane in 1/48 scale. Now, if you're thinking about buying one of these, just want to know what you get for your money, have a look at the box opening video that's already available. If you've got one in your stash or you've got one on order, you want to see how to put it together, this is very much the video for you. Now, if you like the show, and I hope you do, please do remember Imperial thumbs up on the like button below because every like counts. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and you'll be notified of all my future videos as they are released. And of course, if you'd like to make a more concrete donation to the channel, you can do that through Super Thanks by becoming a channel member or indeed through any of my online affiliate programs. This kit of the week was made possible by a donation from Crazy Loacher. Crazy Loacher, thank you so very much, my friend. This one is for you. Let's make a move now and have a look at how to put together the 1/48 scale Hawker Hurricane from ARMA Hobby. So, new day, new kit, and we're starting with the undercarriage bay in the wing. There are two small actuators that go onto the wall like this. Then there's a gas bottle that fits in here. Another part of the another part of the undercarriage bay. These little inserts to place. So then the roof of the undercarriage bay goes in here. Probably is also the floor of the cockpit, as it happens. Then this whole assembly goes on. So there we are, that all goes together very nicely. Now, this piece, this large piece, I think it's A2, yeah, A2. It's got a lot of injection points, but the ones here and here are not injection points. They're actually slots to fit in there. So don't, like me, get rid of them on the ends here. Those are actually needed. All the other injection points, yep, sand them down, get rid of them, that's fine. But those two are actually needed for alignment. Fortunately, these things will help the alignment as well, so you'll be okay. I'm just preparing the wing here because at some point we're going to have to put in the wheel well here, or the other way up probably, actually thinking about it. I don't know, we'll see. I can't remember which way around it goes at the moment. This is top surface anyway, so I'm guessing it goes in that way, because then the wheels are at the bottom. Huzzah. Right. Things to look out for, the injection point up here is very thick. Just take that off and then just work it down gently. All the ones along the wing leading edges are undercut molds, so the molds sort of come in like that. So you can cut them flush and then trim them and sand them down. All of these pegs in here, they can be got rid of. And most of these pegs you can just get rid of. You just use a chisel blade like this, just get them off. There's a couple of points like here on this rib here or this bit here. I would just clean those up rather than take them off completely, because I don't know whether that's needed for something yet. It's one on each side. Just clean up that edge. And this whole piece here can sit inside the upper wing like so. There's a cross piece here that fits in. And then we're nearly ready to take the bottom half of the wing and put it on. I just want to show you here, you can see how this huge feed comes in. And it's just take it off at some distance away and then work on it later. Probably best with all these feeds, as you can see, they're all coming from the bottom of the part, but sometimes that actually makes it more difficult to deal with. I think it's there to protect the leading edge, but it can actually make the leading edge a bit more tricky to do, especially when they're not. You can see here, I'm going to stop pointing with that, it's much finer point. Okay, you can see here on this feed gate here, you can see how it sort of notches into the front of the leading edge there. Even though it's an underfeed part, it's still got some part of it that's in the top half here. So be really careful, cut sort of around there maybe, and then just sand these bits down. Otherwise you will take a chunk out of that leading edge. Something you need to do, apparently, I don't know why you can't leave them on, but you can't, is take off these bomb shackles or fuel tank shackles if you're not using the fuel tanks. And fuel tanks are essentially only for Scheme A, the Night Intruder aircraft. These will come off and sand them down because they're not otherwise needed. As I say, I don't really know why you can't leave them on, but there we go. It says take them off, so we'll take them off. Be very gentle though. Now, if you're using Scheme 1 or Scheme 3, so the Night Fighter or the later war Polish fighter, this hole here has to be over here instead, and that has to be filled in. It makes sense if you've got the fuel tank assembly on here, you've got the fuel tank pylon, that would block that hole, so the hole moves in there. So that slightly later mark had this moved over. Option 2, bobs down for tux plane, you don't need to do that. The last thing we do before we put the wings together is put this landing light assembly in here. Then the two halves of the wings are ready to go together. Okay, so the two halves of the wing go together now. Just fit fairly well. There's a few bits I need to jiggle that about a little bit to get that nice and tight. But yeah, it's looking again around here. It's just looking like it needs to be kept really tight on that part where we've got the landing light, and just make sure that landing light is sat in its place exactly as it should be, all the way back against the stops there, to make sure that will go together perhaps better. Okay, just tape it up and glue it up and leave it alone for a little while to set. Now this piece here, there's 3 pins and there's 3 holes here, so it kind of just naturally sits into place there, like so, resting against the spar here as well. And just put a bit of glue in there to hold that in place. Then the sort of footwell where the rudder bars go over the top of this, has these two little tabs which line up here, and then the ends here line up in these little slots here. I will say it's very well designed from that point of view, in that it's fairly straightforward to see where things have to go. And there's this ridiculously small lever that has to go on here. There we go. All I can say is I'm really glad I'm doing an open cockpit, otherwise that sort of thing just wouldn't get done. We're now going to put the rudder bar on, rudder pedal on, so this part goes on first. So it sits on here. Like so. And the rudder pedal itself sits on top of it, like so. Okay. I've pre-painted the tubular structures on the sides. Most of it's just aluminium or Dural I've used, in fact. On this side, however, there's a panel in interior green. There's a handle in wood. Just paint them in and then give it a bit of a wash with something dark. I've used this panel line wash blue black from MIG, just to bring out some of these sort of weld details and rivets and whatever, and also to bring out a bit of detail in the wheel. You might want to also just put a tiny sort of wash of almost like a dry brush of something a bit brighter over the top of the wheel, just to bring it up a little bit. Then these pieces go in. The forward one sort of clips onto a frame there and just sits in this pass at the back on this cross member at the back. Same for the other side. So the higher bits are at the back, taller bits are at the back. Yeah. Then this cross piece goes in. It sits on this cross member in the wing in there. A rear spar, I guess, really. And then sits against the top of the join here. Let's see if I can get that in place a bit more. Okay, like so. So I keep knocking it out of the middle of the frame, like so. So it sits into a socket down a depression in here, and then connects up to the top. So you see where this pipe comes up and it meets this one here, and the top, that sort of joint there, goes on the inside of that. Onto the control column now. The first bit that goes on is this pulley at the back, which converts the aileron input on the stick into an input further down. Then the control spade sits on top of the control column, like so, and we let that dry. Then we paint the ring here of the actual handle of the column here in black, and we paint the button there, the firing button, in brass. I'm just going to assemble this photo etch belt. First thing to do is to put the seat and shoulder straps together. It's a very, very, very annoyingly tricky thing to do. So the shoulder strap goes onto the seat strap like so. and they'll just let them cure. Then what happens is this piece goes over the back of the seat, and this piece goes through the armour plating behind the seat, and then these bits drape down the seats, obviously. Once the seat sides have cured off nicely, you can just wrap the seat belts themselves over and drape them like so. Just push them into the corners like that. Okay. The seat sits onto the mounting like so. What I have done as well is I've opened up this space here. It's not open up on the original moulding, but I've opened it up because that's where the top part of the strap goes through. The bottom part, the shoulder part, tucks in behind here, and the top part goes through there. And then obviously they drape down onto here. So what I have done also is opened up this hole here. It's not open on the original, on the piece itself. You do have to do that yourself. Be very careful when you do that, because this line here is quite weak once you've opened this up. I've done that because the shoulder straps go through here behind the seat, but also then through here to a mounting in the back somewhere. So the two parts of the belt go through two different routes, basically. Now, as I mentioned before, the inner set of straps slot behind the seat, but the outer set of straps go through the hole I made in the back plate earlier on. Then just drape them down the back of the seat and fix with a spot of super glue. Control column sits all the way down here, and then the rear of the cabin where the seat is sits along this bottom rail, and then also connects with these two parts here on the superstructure, or structure, not superstructure, it's structure. These corners have to match up with the top of the seat here, like so. And there it is. It's incredibly complicated. Let's straighten up this. It's incredibly complicated, this thing, but yeah, it looks fantastic. So worth the effort, I'd say. Then there are some very, very, very small pieces to fit into the fuselage. I mean, this 1.5 millimeters wide fits in there. Why that isn't molded in, I don't know. That possibly because it's got little spiky bits, but that should be molded in. Surely that can be molded in. That's just crazy. Anyway, there's also a decal that goes on here. I'll have a look at doing that. There's a decal that sits in here on top of these bits and pieces. Just let it sit in with some microset, and then maybe use some microsol to get it right into these corners. But otherwise, it sits pretty well. Now, the last two things. Firstly, if you're having the access stirrup deployed, actually pulled down, because it used to be pushed up into the fuselage for obviously to stop it being dragged, but to get in and out, the ground crew would pull the stirrup down, and that would also open up this gap here. It's like a handhold for the pilot to help them get up. When the stirrup is pushed in, this would be closed. There is a piece that you can put into here from the back to close this up if you want. Also, for the first two schemes, the Night Fighter and Bob Stanford Tux, you just need to take these vents off because they only apply to the later model. So take these vents off. The instrument panel I painted black and then I dry brushed it with some white. Now I've cut out some of the instrument faces from the decal to put them on because the decal as a whole I don't think will sit well on this relief. I've cut a few out individually, the 6 in the middle are in one piece. Then I've added some colour where needed and I've put some drops of clear PVA on the dials when it's all dry to simulate glass. Then the instrument panel goes into one half like so. With the instrument panel in place, two halves of the fuselage can go together. You can tape this up. You can check the fit of the instrument panel there. You can see. And then just tape up the fuselage and make sure you've got plenty of glue running through. And then we can slot the fuselage onto the wing, like so. To get them in the right place, and do you know what? What a fit. What an amazing fit. Brilliant. Right, let's get this taped up so it stays in place and doesn't ruin that lovely line. And get on with other things. The fillet that goes on the bottom of the aircraft here, there are the feed lines you can see here come in and onto the piece this way, which is fine for keeping this nice and clean here. But it means that when you've this sort of lip here, you suddenly get feed lines. You've got to clean these feed lines out of the lip, which is a little bit of a pain, but just remember to do that, otherwise this lip won't seal properly. The tailplane comes in two halves, and the halves fit all the way across the width of the tailplane, so that automatically gives you them level. And then the tail, the elevators, just clip into place there. That also tells you which way round it is, because they will only fit in like that. So the bottom surface has the recesses where the pegs fit best. Then the whole assembly fits on the back end of the aircraft, like so. Very good. The rudder comes in two halves, or top half, part of the rudder comes in two halves, because it's actually quite a small thing, really. This is the fin rudder at all. Okay, the fin comes in two halves and slots on top of the back end of the fuselage, like so. Then the rudder clips into the back of the whole darned thing. There we go. The radiator elements can go in now. Notice that they've got two different size holes, so you can only put it in the right way around, which is very good. The housing goes together like this, and the fairing sits over the top, like so. And then finally the radiator flap fits into the back here. Okay. Well, with that, pretty much the first part of the build is done. There's a couple of fairings here on the nose of the engine compartment. There. One on either side. Need to go on. There's also this slightly perilous piece to get in, perilous because it will go flying and get lost if you're not really careful. This, I'm going to guess this is the gun camera part. Now, there's two different ones, one for scheme 2 like this, one for scheme 3. But for scheme 2, you put the part in, then sand it flush. I'm guessing for the first scheme, the night fighter, right, intruder one, there's no gun camera, I'm guessing. So for scheme A, the black one, you sand that down. For scheme B, you use this one. For scheme C, you use the other one. It's a lot of accuracy, I guess. 3. What I've done for the landing lights on the wings is I painted the inside with duraluminium, and then I've put chrome onto the reflector for the lamp, so it sort of shines that bit more. And then we can just put the cover over it, like so. Like so. There we go. You can still see it sort of shines quite nicely. There's also this oil coolant scoop goes onto the bottom of the aircraft like so. Nice design actually, where it sits. Yeah, that's very good. Flame shields here, these were to shield the pilot's eyes from the flames so he didn't lose his night vision. They need to go about. There's a line of rivets along here you can maybe only just about see. I need this to be a bit more stable. And this goes above that line of rivets and about halfway along, like around about there. We can put the cannon barrels in as well. The longer ones go on the outside, so. And the shorter barrels go on the inner station. This way, when they're both in, they have roughly the same length at the front of the barrel. For the propeller, first of all, there's this small piece goes in the front. Then the mounting plate goes on the back like so. Then the spinner, boss, call it what you like, goes. So onto priming, and the first thing we're going to do is put down a layer of black primer base. I'm using the ammo from MiG one for this kit. And when that's properly dry, I'm going to add some pre-shade highlighting with thinned Tamiya white. Done the bottom of the plane in Sky, XF21 Sky. I now need to do the tail band here in a pale blue. This XF23 is fairly close to the pale blue that we need. I've masked off the tail stripe now, and tail band if you like, and so I can start the brown coat on the wings and the fuselage. Then with the camouflage system marked off, I can start applying the dark green. Okay, it's time for some decals, call them what you like, going on. Now this is going to need a lot of setting solution of your choice, and a lot of patience, and probably some dissolving solution of your choice as well, because the decals have to go over incredible amounts of detail. And right, so let's make sure we've got them going in the right place roughly. So always check and double check against the thing that comes with. Actually, that's pretty good right from the word go. That's pretty good. Now you can see there's a lot of crimpling here. So we're going to put on some more microset. Then that's set for a little while, so 10-20 minutes, and then we're going to put some microsol on, or a dissolving solution that helps it suck right down onto the detail. But this is going to take some time to do this. The decals aren't like wafer thin like they are some companies like ICM, for example. They're very, very thin indeed. These are much more like Airfix decals in the feel to them. Maybe a little thinner than Airfix, but pretty much of the same amount. So this is going to take some time to set all these in. 1, 2, 3. The wheels come in 2 halves. How often have I said that? And there are little pins to align them because these are weighted wheels, so there is a flat spot for the base of the tyre on the floor. So just glue these up and just smooth them out. The undercarriage leg goes in like so. And there's a tiny little pin at the end of the leg here, and that has to fit just inside there. This structural member here. So tap a bit of glue there, and then there's another strut that sits in there. I'll show you that in a moment. There's a strut that goes in here. So and it fits up against the back of the main leg there. The geared door fits really snugly actually against the gear leg, and also against that strut leg at the bottom as well. That fits really well. One of the best I've found actually on a Hurricane. That's the wheels. As I said before, they do have flat spots on them, and what they have. So my fingers are filthy. Just doing things. Please do excuse them. They do have this tiny, tiny little spot there, and that lines up with this tiny, tiny little peg just there to set the alignment. It's really small, but I guess it's going to work, so we'll see. It's kind of around there somewhere. Okay, around there. And of course we can add the tail wheel as well. The engine exhausts can go into the sides like so. These have been painted with some burnt metal, actually no, gunmetal, I beg your pardon, gunmetal colour, and then just given some dusting with first with some iron oxide and then with some smoke to make them look sort of rusty and dirty. Then I just need to add all the tiny little bits that you leave till the last minute, including the glass here for the gun sight. Then I can also add the canopy using PVA glue to hold it in place. And finally, the propeller goes on and the kit is complete. There it is, the 1/48th scale Hawker Hurricane from ARMA Hobby. At last, I've built it. It's a beautiful kit. A lot of people said to me before, you are going to like this kit. And I thought, yeah, it's ARMA Hobby. I know it's going to be good. The ARMA Hobby Hurricanes I've built before have been just outstandingly good fun to make. P39 was I found it really not that much fun. It was over complicated, over tricky. This isn't. This hits a beautiful balance between accuracy but with buildability. The fit of the parts is just epic. I mean, so good. I think there's just a touch of filler on a couple of seams, but essentially there's almost no filler on this. The detail on those wings is exquisite. I haven't done any panel line washing and I can see all the rivet lines, all the panels, everything. It's just a lovely kit to build. It goes together very firmly, very accurately. It's a joy. Are there any downsides to it? I would say get a proper set of straps instead of using the ones on the Decals sheet. The instrument panel, just like with every kit that doesn't have a flat instrument panel option, getting those decals to fit over the instrument panel is going to be a nightmare, so you have to cut up the panels to make it look right. But do you know what? Those are very small things, very, very small issues on a kit of this beauty and this excellence. I mean, really, seriously, well done, ARMA Hobby, for bringing out, and I think now, is it too much to say it's the best kit of the Hurricane that's available? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's too much at all. If anyone says I want to build a 1/48th Hurricane, I say, have you built a kit before? If they say yes, ARMA Hobby. If they say no, maybe the Airfix kit before this one, because there are a few twiddly little bits inside the cockpit. But otherwise, this wins hands down. It's a thing of beauty. If you like a Hurricane, you like 1/48th, I very strongly suggest you get hold of one of these if you haven't already. If you've got one, build it because it's a delight. There we go then. What an amazing kit. Incredible fit. I mean, the design and the fit and the manufacturer, absolutely astonishing. Bit crowded, the frames, but you know what? I can forgive that for the fact it all went together so very, very well. If you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed building this kit, then do please remember, give it the Imperial thumbs up on the like button below, because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, Lord knows why, but if you haven't, please do remember, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and you'll get notified of all my future content as it is published. Thank you so very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Take care now, and goodbye.